Hello students, I am Professor Isha Mendirata from LG Institute of Engineering and Technology. So today we are going to discuss about formation of energy bands, that is how are energy bands in solids formed. You might be aware about the bands like valence band, conduction band and the forbidden band in between. We will also be discussing the classification of solids. Now these are the two topics which are related to band theory of solids that was developed in the year 1928 by Bloch. If you have any queries in today's video, you can contact me on this email ID isha.medirata@lginstitutes.edu.in. So come on, let's start with our topic. First we'll see how are energy bands formed in a solid. You know what are energy bands, but do you know how are these bands formed? So for that, let me explain you with the help of two different diagrams. In the first diagram, I have tried to show an individual atom wherein you have a nucleus in between. So there is a nucleus in the center, and surrounding these nucleus we have different orbits wherein different electrons are present. Each and every electron has a certain energy. Suppose you consider energy levels. Now Pauli's principle says that any energy level will have maximum 2 electrons which are having opposite spin. Right, so there is a possibility that this orbit electrons have different energies because maximum electrons in one energy level can be 2. So this is true for an individual atom that they have a certain energy level in respective orbits. So an isolated atom possesses discrete energies or single values of energies of different electrons. But what happens when two isolated atoms are brought together? This is only one atom. But in a solid is jam-packed with electrons. The density of electrons in any solid, specifically if you consider metals, it is almost 10 raised to 26 to 10 raised to 28 atoms in a meter cube. That means there are many electrons which are very close to each other. So here I have tried to show, this is not the actual number of electrons, it is just for reference that this is the structure of a crystalline solid wherein all the atoms are very close to each other. What happens when all such atoms are brought closer to each other in a solid? When these atoms are brought very close to each other, that is in very close proximity, then the electrons in the orbits of two atoms, suppose I consider one electron here and suppose I consider one electron here, there will be an interaction between these two electrons. This interaction can be either repulsive or it can be either attractive. Let's see what happens. When two single or isolated atoms are brought close to each other, the outermost orbit electrons interact. Now, why do we consider only the outermost orbits or the outer orbits? The reason is, if you consider the innermost orbit of any atom, it has the highest attraction with the nucleus. So that electron jumping or being attracted by other atom, the possibility will be very less. So here, suppose I consider these are the two energy levels of isolated atoms, E1 and E2 I have showed here. So this is the atomic distance on x-axis and energy on the y-axis. But when you consider the case of a solid, the scenario is like this. There is, because of the interaction of electrons between consecutive atoms, nearby atoms, the electron either jumps to a higher energy level or to a lower energy level. So suppose there is an interaction, suppose this atom interacts with this is attracted with this, or this is repelled by this atom, so the energy level will shift. So instead of two discrete values, there will be many values, and this value of energy, this group of energy is called a band. So when atoms are brought close to each other, the outermost orbit electrons of two atoms interact. That is, the electrons in the outermost orbit experience attractive force from the nucleus of the other atom or repulsive force from the electrons of the other atom, which leads to a change in energy level, forming a band. Due to this, the energies of electrons will never be in the same level. The energy of electron will either move to a higher level or it will move to a lower level. So the left diagram indicates the situation of an isolated atom wherein you see only single values. But when you consider a crystalline solid in which all the electrons are very close to each other, in this scenario what happens, if the electron has moved to a higher level or it has moved to a lower level, and because the electrons follow Pauli's principle that any energy level will have two electrons, so instead of discrete values you will have a group of energies, and this group of energy is called a band. Pauli's exclusion principle allows each energy level to contain only two electrons, so the electrons in the same orbit also can have different energy levels, and that is the reason, suppose I consider this as the valence orbit. So this band which is formed is known as the valence band, because all the electrons in the outermost orbit have either moved to a higher level or to a lower level, so that grouping forms a band which is known as a valence band. So this grouping of different energy levels is called an energy band. The energy levels of the innermost orbits, they are not much affected, as I said. Why they are not much affected? Because they have the highest attraction with the nucleus. Now there are many bands which are formed in the solid. You can just look at this diagram. This topmost is the one which we represent valence band. So there is a splitting of energy levels below the valence also, but they are so small that we neglect them. So the lowest occupied level we consider is the valence band. So we can say there are many bands in a solid, but we consider or we study only the three important ones. They are known as the valence band, the conduction band, and the forbidden band. You can say forbidden band, you can say forbidden gap, you can say energy gap. So here I have just represented, this is the valence band, the first occupied level or the outermost occupied level. Then you have a forbidden gap in between them where electrons are never present. It is just a passage, a medium. And then you have conduction band where electrons are always in the valence band, but when energy is given to them, they move to conduction band. But again, this scenario is different for different kinds of materials. It is not the same for insulators, metals and semiconductors. That is what we are going to study in the remaining portion of this video. Now let me just tell you what exactly the different bands mean. Just a brief about individual bands. So we'll be discussing valence band first. So what is the definition? How do you define a valence band? So it is a band which is formed by grouping of. Why grouping? Because different energy levels. All atoms have outermost electrons in a solid. So all the energy levels of all the atoms of outermost orbit, they group and form valence band. I repeat again, all the atoms have valence electrons. So the electron energy of all the valence orbits combine and form a valence band. So it is the energy band which is formed by grouping of energy levels of valence electrons or the outermost electrons. Electrons in the valence band always have a lower energy than conduction band, right? Because the electrons from the valence will move to conduction when energy is given. So valence is always at a lower energy. The electrons present in valence band, they are loosely bound to the electrons because the attraction loosely bound to the nucleus because the attraction is loose or weak. That is the reason the shifting of energy is occurring. Now this diagram just represents the bands. All these are filled bands, and out of the filled bands, the topmost is called the valence band. These can be, suppose I consider there are 4 orbits in an atom. So this is the first orbit, second orbit, third orbit. They are also filled, but the maximum, the outermost which is filled one is called the valence band. Next is conduction band. So what is conduction band? See, if you talk about insulators, conduction band will never be filled up because insulators can never have free electrons. So conduction band is the energy band which is formed by grouping of energy levels of free electrons. So that is a possibility only in case of metals, that is conductors and semiconductors. Now generally conduction band is empty, but when external energy is applied to electrons, in the valence band, they jump to the conduction band and they become free electrons. So energy given to valence electrons will make them free electrons. That is the scenario in case of many materials. So electrons in conduction band, they always have higher energy because only when energy is provided, they will be moving to conduction band. And so we say conduction band always has higher energy. The conduction band electrons are not bound to the nucleus of atom. Because they gain energy, they detach from the atom, and because they detach from the atom, they actually become free, and so they are not bounded by the nucleus of the atom. So this unfilled bands, you have again, there can be a number of bands here. The least level of unfilled bands is conduction band. So like we studied earlier, the maximum level of filled bands is valence. We can say the minimum level of unfilled bands is conduction band. Now let us look at forbidden band or the forbidden gap or energy gap, what you commonly call it. The energy gap is the gap which is present between the valence and conduction band, separating these two. This is very important. It is important for understanding the transition processes. It is important for classification of materials. Based on the energy gap, the materials or the solids can be classified. So in solids, electrons can never be present in the forbidden gap. Why? Because there is no allowed energy. There are electrons which are always present in valence. When you give energy to these electrons, they will directly move to conduction. The forbidden gap in between is just a passage. You can say just a path or a road. Electrons can never be present permanently in the forbidden gap. So it is just a medium for transfer. It is a major factor in determining electrical conductivity of solids because based on the gap, forbidden gap, you classify the solids into conductors, insulators and semiconductors. The classification of materials is mainly dependent on the forbidden gap. So let's see how does it depend. Now, according to this band theory, which we have just studied, according to how bands are formed, according to the type of band, that is forbidden band, we classify the solids into three categories because that band is actually very important in determining electrical conductivity. So on the basis of bands, we say that there are conductors, insulators and semiconductors and insulators. So suppose I say this is the electron energy. So this represents the metal, wherein you can consider this portion as the valence band and this portion as the conduction band. So can you see this purple portion over here? This indicates the conduction and valence bands overlap in case of metal. Or I can say there is no forbidden gap in metals. Why? Because there are free electrons present in metals. So after the valence band is filled up, still there are some loosely connected atoms which form the conduction band. Next, if you consider about semiconductors, you can just see the small portion over here. So this represents the energy gap or the forbidden band. So electrons are present in the valence band. When you give energy to these electrons, they will be moving to conduction band. And lastly, we have insulators, wherein you can see this band gap. The band gap is comparatively very high. If you compare with semiconductors, it is quite huge. So this the electrons present in valence cannot move to conduction band. Now let us discuss the materials in detail. So I'll start with conductors or metals first. How do you define conductors? They are the materials which will easily allow the flow of current. That is why they are called good conductors of electricity. So materials which easily allow the flow of electric current through them are called conductors. Some examples of conductors can be metals like copper, silver, aluminium, chromium, nickel, platinum. All these are good conductors of electricity. In a conductor, the valence and conduction bands overlap. So this is what represents your overlapping region. There is no forbidden gap. No forbidden gap because valence and conduction are one and the same. So this is the portion which is common for valence and conduction. So they just overlap on each other. They are one above the other. You can see that in the valence band there are electrons, in the conduction band also there are electrons. So you say that almost full conduction band is present in metals. When you give energy, completely the conduction band will be filled. But even at room temperature, even at low temperature, because conductors have free electrons, we say that the conduction band is almost full. So in conductors, large number of electrons are present in conduction band even at room temperature. That is the reason even at room temperature they are said to be conductors. They conduct, they have a higher conductivity because they do not have any forbidden band. Conduction band is almost filled with electrons, whereas valence band is partially occupied. Because electrons have become free, so you cannot say that the valence band is filled completely, because there are electrons in the free, as there are free electrons in the conduction band also. Now let's see what are semiconductors. Semiconductors are a material which have a forbidden gap, but the gap is not very high, is not very large. So this can be overcome if energy is given. So if you say semiconductors at room temperature, they have conductivity. But if you say very low temperature, so at very low temperatures what happens? The valence electrons do not have sufficient energy, so they cannot move to conduction band. So at very low temperatures they will behave as insulators, but when you increase the temperature, that is even at room temperature or more than that, the conduction band will start filling up. So the materials which have an electrical conductivity between conductors and insulators are called semiconductors. Examples of such materials are silicon, germanium. They are the commonly used semiconductors. Some more examples I can give: gallium arsenide, gallium phosphide, combination of group 3 and group 5 elements. Semiconductors have a forbidden gap. The gap here in between is approximately 1 electron volt. For silicon it is 1.1, for germanium it is 0.7 electron volt. At low temperatures, as I said, valence band is completely occupied and the conduction band is empty, and so they behave as insulators. They behave as insulators at low temperatures because these electrons over here, they do not have enough energy to move to conduction band. But at room temperature, some of the electrons gain energy in the form of heat and they move to conduction band. You can see over here. So it is almost empty at room temperature. You cannot say completely empty. You cannot say completely filled. So at low temperatures, semiconductors behave as insulators. But at room temperatures, semiconductors have a conductivity. You want to increase the conductivity, you have to increase the temperature. Lastly, we'll be discussing about insulators. So they are the materials which do not allow flow of electric current through them. Why? Because they have a large forbidden gap. You can see in the diagram over here, the gap between them is comparatively more, and you cannot see any electron in the conduction because it is completely empty. The valence band is completely filled up with electrons. So they have a full valence band and a completely empty conduction band. Some examples of insulators I can give: plastic, rubber, wood, ceramics, glass. All these are insulators. They are poor conductors of electricity. So that is the reason they are used as insulating agents. In insulators, the valence band is completely occupied with electrons due to the sharing of outermost orbit electrons, whereas the conduction band is completely empty. Forbidden gap between valence and conduction band is very large. It is almost greater than 5 electron volt. So if I want to move an electron from valence band to conduction band, I would require a very huge energy, a high amount of energy, greater than 5 eV. The electrons in valence band cannot move because they are locked up between the atoms. As such, you can say insulators are the materials which have 5, 6 or 7 valence electrons. So to move all these 6 electrons into conduction band or to free all these 7 electrons requires a huge energy, and that is the reason they are not conductors. So this was all about a small topic related to band theory of solids. For any queries, you can get back to me on my email ID. Thank you.